Hi and welcome to my first jQuery lesson. Here I'm going to show you the very basics of jQuery, namely how to implement it. You need to know that jQuery is a form of JavaScript. It's something built on top of JavaScript. Although it's extremely different in the way how you approach jQuery and how you write it, you still need the same basics on how to implement it on your web page. So over here you can see a very simple small web page, and over here you can see the code. As you can see, it's really simple example to show you to just get to the core of how to implement JavaScript. So as you can see, I have one HTML file with a link to a CSS file. This page consists of one H1 and two P tags. And if we go to the style, to the CSS file, we see very basic styling. We see I changed the background color to gray and some really minor things. But what's interesting is that I have a rule for the P tag with the class dynamic. And as you can see, I make the P red and the text color is going to be white. But when we go back to the page, you can see there isn't any dynamic class. There isn't any P with a dynamic class. So if you go to the page, you don't see anything red because there is a rule, but nothing gets applied by the rule because there is no dynamic class. So I made a very simple JavaScript file, and you don't need to know how it works. You just need to know that it adds something to my HTML file, namely a new P tag with some content. And the P tag has a class dynamic. Later I go into the details of how to do stuff like this and how to make it even more dynamic by putting like the current time and stuff like that into the P or something else, or into the class, whatever you want. But this first demonstration is just how to get this script linked to the HTML file. A lot of people will tell you that you can very easily add a JavaScript file into your head part of your HTML document, and they say you can do it like this. You say script source and then the name of the file, which in my case is script.js, and you close the script tag. This is not gonna work. The thinking about it is good. You can play stuff into your head tag, but it's not the best practice, I think, and a lot of developers agree with me. But why it's not working is because of a different reason. That's because I'm writing jQuery. This is jQuery code, and browsers don't understand what to do with it unless you load jQuery with it. So here I have jQuery. This is the code. You don't need to understand it. It's unreadable for humans because it's minified. That's something for another story. You just need to know that if you want to use some jQuery code on your website, you need to load jQuery onto the page. So I'm gonna do that now. So here I'm saying another script tag with the source pointing to the web page, to the script online of jQuery. You can also use different like CDNs, which are like content delivery networks to speed up the delivery of the file, so everything loads a lot faster. So we got that now, and this is installed. It should work. Let me test it here. I refresh the page, and now you can see there is a web paragraph with white letters. And it's not on the HTML page. The HTML page is the same, but when the page loads, it loads JavaScript, and the JavaScript adds a new paragraph with the class dynamic, and that's what gets changed by the CSS. This works. A lot of people use it like this. They put all the JavaScript in the head, and it's really it's a nice practice because you can always look at the head, and you can always see like all the meta tags and all the CSS files used by this document and all the JavaScript. But for speed, it's not really good practice, and that has to do with how HTTP works. It's an old protocol, and it basically comes down to that if you put JavaScript at the head, when a page needs to load, it needs to wait for all the JavaScript to be loaded. So you get a blank page because it's at the top. It doesn't have any content yet. So it can't show anything because it doesn't have anything yet. And then it needs to load all the jQuery files and all your script files and all your major JavaScript things you've written, and load it in and execute it. And when it's done with that, it can continue with the other stuff, namely the body. So that's not a good practice. So what a lot of people do is put it at the end of the page, and that's just before the closing of the body tag. The HTML spec, yeah, depending on which version you're using, but most version, I think HTML4 and up. So this is HTML5, and everything below that understands this, and this is correct according to the spec. And it's also a little better for user experience because the same JavaScript needs to be loaded, so it's always slow, but now it's slow when the content is already on the screen, so your user can stare at the content for like a flicker of a second instead of a white screen, which also can be found annoying. So I always place it at the bottom. Also notice that the jQuery code is above your own jQuery code, and that's because your browser needs to understand jQuery before it can use your jQuery code and execute it. So I saved it, and we're gonna refresh it now. And as you can see, it still works, and we're not seeing any sort of improvement in speed because it's also small, and the internet here is really fast. So, but it's still best practice to do it like that. In tutorials I'll post later on, I'll show you how to write your own jQuery. But this is the basics you need to understand before you can use any JavaScript anywhere. So. Here it is.